Hello and welcome once again everyone. Today's video features the brand new Tier 8 Premium Pan-Asian destroyer Fen Yang. If this video is well received, I'll be able to hold a giveaway for one lucky winner. To enter, just leave your in-game name and the server you play on in the comment section below in the format you see here on screen, and be actively subscribed to my channel. If you like what you see, please hit that like button below, as it really does help out the channel a lot, so thank you very much in advance. Very important note here: to ensure you don't miss out on any future giveaways, enable notifications by clicking the bell icon below, as there are more ship giveaways coming very soon. Let me start as usual with the ship review by putting up the complete build I was using in this match to help give you an accurate representation of how the ship is capable of performing before diving into the ship's exact stats and numbers. The only real important note here is the inclusion of IFHE, which is an absolute prerequisite, which I'll cover in more depth when going over the main battery and the reasoning behind its integral part of this build. The Fen Yang is basically an Akizuki hull, but with a lot of not so subtle differences, which do set it quite apart from the IGN gunboat. You can see here on screen from a quick port screenshot, complete hull and deck is covered by 19mm, and the superstructure and turrets in light blue get 13mm of armor protection. One of the main strengths of the Fen Yang is its impressive array of consumables, ranging from 5 smoke screens, engine boost, torpedo reload booster, and even 4 charges of defensive fire, which is a marked improvement from the Akizuki. And these are the base numbers. So good, in fact, allowing one to actually skip the captain's skill superintendent, as these charges provide ample supply given the average length of games these days. Just a quick note here, this will be one of the final videos using the old skill names. Starting with the hit points, Fen Yang gets a base HP of 19,700. which is increased to 22,500 using the captain's skill survivability expert, which strangely enough is still less than the already mentioned Akizuki. So we get to the meat and bones of the Fen Yang with its main battery. Fen Yang gets 4 X2 100mm guns with a base reload speed of 5.2 seconds, which is increased to 4.7 seconds when using basic firing training. These turrets have an 180-degree turning time of 11.3 seconds and a max firing range of 12.5 kilometers with a max dispersion of 101 meters. Strangely enough, these are the exact same shells, according to the ship stats, 100mm Type 98 as the Akizuki, but they differ quite significantly in terms of both damage dealt and penetration. Starting with the high explosive shells, they are capable of dealing a max damage of 1500 per shell, which is a 25% increase compared directly to Akizuki. But this does come at a real cost in terms of armor penetration, with a base penetration of only 17mm. Failure to train the captain's skill inertia fuse for high explosive shells, or better known as IFHE, will simply result in your shells shattering even on the hulls and decks of enemy destroyers. IFHE will increase the base penetration to 21mm, allowing you to be effective against destroyers, but again at a cost of fire chance. With both signal flags India X-ray and Victor Lima mounted, Fen Yang gets a fire chance of 5%. Personally, I can't say I'm a real fan of this forced inclusion of IFHE, as it forces the captain build to feel quite unflexible, but it leaves a Fen Yang captain with little option but to train IFHE, because I can guarantee you shooting at an enemy destroyer in a do or die situation and having to be reliant on setting fires to do actual damage will result in massive levels of frustration and inevitably very early returns to port. The armor-piercing rounds are capable of inflicting a max damage of 1900 per shell, again more than an 11% increase in damage compared to Akizuki AP. And although I never felt I had a realistic opportunity to use it in this particular game, I feel it is quite effective at closer ranges against broadside targets, in particular against those targets that are already on fire. Both these shell types have the exact same shell speed of 1000 meters per second, so no adjustments are required when swapping out shell types in leading targets. My overall impression with these guns, actually not bad. Being a huge fan of the Akizuki and its playstyle, I was dismayed initially at seeing the slower reload times, but with IFHE they performed pretty well in general. I would urge captains, however, to focus primarily on the superstructures of both cruisers and battleships, no matter what the shell type, as it's your best chance of doing consistent damage, and try as much as possible to avoid shooting the fore and aft end sections of anything except destroyers. Otherwise, all you'll see will be shattered shell ribbons. But you should use this as a guide to understand exactly where your shells are landing and adjust your aim accordingly to start getting those penetrations. When it comes to torpedoes, the Fen Yang, being a Pan-Asian destroyer, gets access to deep water torpedoes, which are only capable of striking enemy battleships and aircraft carriers. So make sure to take that into account when firing them at any cruiser that happens to come hunting you down. I'm still amazed on a daily basis by players who still aim deep water torpedoes even at enemy destroyers in panic, with absolutely no hope of ever hitting them. Despite the inability to strike cruisers and destroyers with these torpedoes, they are very effective against battleships. Fen Yang gets one X4 launcher with base reload speed of 122 seconds, with access to the Torpedo Reload Booster, so it is possible to put up to 8 torpedoes in the water virtually at the same time on a potential target or targets. These deep water torpedoes can inflict a max damage of almost 21,000, with a max firing range of 12 kilometers, a base speed of 67 knots, and excellent concealment of only 800 meters. It's this great combination of speed and concealment that makes these torpedoes, when aimed correctly, very difficult to evade when spotted, as the reaction time is minimal, making these torpedoes feel very potent indeed, and a very nice addition to one's arsenal. The extra 2 kilometers range compared to the Akizuki is also very helpful in keeping out of radar range of those accompanying radar cruisers. There's always a downside, however, with having just one launcher, as you have to be very careful when in the sights of anything shooting heavy HE shells, like Des Moines or Thunderers, of which there is quite a population these days, as it's not uncommon to have this one launcher instantly destroyed. Losing one's torpedo capability completely can be extremely debilitating. My overall impression of these torpedoes was quite satisfactory. I never really had games where I landed huge numbers, but virtually every game I played so far had at least a couple of hits, and with the high damage, you don't need many hits to be effective. Having the reload booster is nice for when it matters, but I urge caution in being very protective of your only launcher, and not gunboating in the open without being very aware of what kind of ships will be shooting you in return. Fen Yang, being at tier 8, is going to face a large player base of carriers, although I must include the caveat of this being mostly the case on EU server. Having not played on other servers, I can't be so sure. But Fen Yang comes pretty well equipped to deal with the threat of enemy planes. Tier 6 CV squadrons will get obliterated, while Tier 8 carriers will definitely feel the pain when they attempt to focus you. And be sure they will, as any enemy carrier worth his salt will know removing a destroyer gives his team a big advantage. Fen Yang gets 19 AA guns in total, ranging from 40mm 04s up to and including the main battery 100mm, which double up as AA guns. All combined, Fen Yang gets an AA rating of 65, which is marginally better than the Akizuki, pumping out a continuous average damage of 211, firing 5 flak explosions per salvo, with a max damage of 1400, with a max firing range of 5.8 kilometers. This continuous damage is almost spread equally between mid and long range, making it feel quite effective. But it's the addition of the defensive fire consumable which really makes this AA effective against enemy planes. Not only does it boost the continuous damage by 50%, but the flak damage gets a 300% boost for 40 seconds, more than enough to lay down crippling fire on enemy planes. The cooldown on this consumable is also pretty fast, at just over 1 minute, so depending on your position in relation to the carrier, it can be a real deterrent. Of course, when faced against tier 10 carriers, don't be fooled into thinking of going up solo, as you will still get punished. You're still only a tier 8 destroyer at the end of the day. Seek a strong DD body or cruiser for additional support in such situations, and you can still be quite nasty to deal with. Bloody a carrier's nose a bit in terms of planes lost, and they usually go looking for a softer target, preferring to deal with you at a later stage. When it comes to maneuverability, again the Fen Yang rises slightly above the Akizuki, with a slightly higher rating of 61 compared to 57. Fen Yang gets a base speed of 33 knots, increased to 34.6 knots when mounting the Sierra Mike signal flag, which is further enhanced by the engine boost consumable, which adds an additional 8% to straight line speed for the duration of 2 minutes per charge. Fen Yang gets a turning circle radius of 730 meters and a rudder shift time of 4.5 seconds. This is using the propulsion mod. The rudder shift can be further reduced to just 3.6 seconds using the steering gears mod in slot 4, but I didn't feel it was necessary and preferred the fast stop and go option offered by the propulsion mod, not just to get moving faster out of smoke screens, but also to be able to help dodge shells in the open. Fen Yang is still a large destroyer and vulnerable to enemy torpedoes, so one should always be aware of where enemy torpedoes can come from and angle in smokes accordingly. I must add, Fen Yang does feel better maneuverability wise compared to the Akizuki due to the better rudder shift. Finally, stats wise, we come to the Fen Yang's concealment. With a full stealth build, including both upgrade and captain skill, Fen Yang will be surface detected at 6.1 kilometers by enemy ships and at 2.9 kilometers by enemy planes. All combined, Fen Yang feels like a pretty strong package. Just remember, it's not a better or worse Akizuki, it's just one that plays differently. I'd like to thank you once again all for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more. Take a moment to check out some of my most recent videos and leave a comment below. And until the next time, keep sailing it like you stole it.